Welcome back once more again. Today we are going to create a salary payroll system, and in this lesson today we are going to use some HTML code, CSS and JavaScript code. So we are going to pick an IDE that we are going to use today, and the IDE we are going to use for today's lesson is Visual Studio Code. Please, if you don't have one, you can go to Google and download one, then install it for this tutorial. So I'll go ahead and launch my VS Code. This is the IDE that I'm going to use. Before I'll go ahead and do so, let me just go ahead and create a folder on desktop. New, then folder, and I'll call this folder, I'll rename it as Salary Payroll. Salary Payroll. So I'm going to save all my files inside this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and open it here. As you can see here, or I'll just come and click here. Then I go ahead, then drag here, drag it a bit. Let's push it to this direction a bit. Reduce a bit, or you can do same. Then come here, pick this file here, and drop it inside. Click here. Then come here and close here. Now, as you can see here, our folder is ready now. You can come here now and we include our files inside here. So when you click here, see new file, click new file. So I'll call this file as payroll. I'll call it payroll.html, like salary. Let's just use salary. Let's name it as salary underscore payroll dot html. Enter. Then let's create another file for our CSS file. So I'll go ahead and click a new file. I'll call this one salary underscore payroll dot css. Then our JavaScript file, we are going to include it in our HTML file. So let's just dive in straight to our HTML file and write some code. So currently now I'm in my HTML file, so I'm going to go ahead and touch exclamation sign, shift exclamation sign, then tab to get my full HTML declaration. So now we are creating a salary payroll, give a space, salary payroll system. That's what we are creating for today. So before we do that, let's go ahead and link our CSS file. Type link here, link rel. So style sheet, then the hypertext ref is the name we use in saving our CSS file, which is salary underscore payroll.css. So we've succeeded in linking our CSS file to our HTML file. So let's go ahead inside the body and start writing some HTML code. So to do that, I'll come and here and create a div first, a div. And inside this div now, I'm going to name this div an ID, and the ID should be like payroll. I'm going to say is a payroll underscore container. It's going to contain everything that I'm going to do inside. It's going to carry everything inside this container. So let's go ahead and include our h1 tag, like h1 tag, our heading tag now. So our h1 tag now, I want the name of the company to be, let me just call the name of the company to be JavaScript salary payroll. So, and I want this to be at the center. So before we do that, let's just go down to our folder, open our folder, then our HTML file, then open it with Google Chrome. So as you can see here, trust of salary payroll. So I want to style it. Let me take it to the center. So to do so now, I'll just come here and put everything here in a center tag, in a center tag. Then I'll go ahead and cut everything here, and put it inside the center tag. Then put it inside here. So let's save and refresh and see. Let's refresh and see. So at the center now. So I'll go ahead and include some stuff inside our HTML file. First, let's write a paragraph tag now, a p tag now. Then inside this p tag, let's just say enter a word like enter here, or let's just first of all take the employee details like enter employee's name. Then inside, let's include a span tag inside. Then inside this span tag now, we are going to include an input inside this span tag. Then we are going to state the type of the input, and the type we are going to state is text. Say text. Then we are going to come here and state the ID. The ID should be called name because the name of the employee. Then we are going to come and include a placeholder that will say like enter, enter full name inside the placeholder. Then let me click outside here, and then the span tag will end here at the front. Here will end the span tag here. So let's go ahead and pick another thing now. So we are just going to go ahead and copy this one, copy it, then we'll paste it, then we'll change some things inside. So let me just go ahead and close this stuff here. So the second one we should consider first is the what? We are going to enter the basic salary of the employee. Now, let me pick as this one as the word basic salary. So this is a salary now. The input should be text. Then the ID should be basic salary. So for basic salary, I'm going to use BS for the basic salary. Then the placeholder I'm going to use, I'll say enter basic salary. The basic salary. Then I'm going to include a salary function now. So after the ID here, we're going to include umbrella. Then equals to, then at the front of it here, let's include a function, a salary function. Then after the umbrella salary function here, then add our placeholder. Then after creating the placeholder, we are going to go ahead and create the housing allowance, professional allowance, just like that. So, but in this section here, It should be something that when we just click on it, the function will just generate everything for us. So I'll go ahead here. Let me come down and include a comment. Just include a comment here. Sorry. I think can be somewhere stubborn sometime. So I'll go ahead and create a p tag again. Sorry. I'll just go ahead and create a p tag again. So I'll paste this one. I'm going to use the former one I used before. Let me just paste it. Then come to the end of each and enter. Give a space. Let me just give one space again. Then I can come here and include my comment. So the comment I want to include now is like a button, like button on click, button on click is equals in quotation say sal function. So when we click on this button, it will automatically generate what we want for us. So I'll come here and include the housing allowance of the employee, the housing allowance. So in this case here, the housing allowance should carry a span tag, then an input, and it should be a text. Then the ID should change to housing allowance, HL. So the placeholder I'm going to use here, let's just remove this one and use something like asterisk as the placeholder. Asterisk as the placeholder of housing allowance. So now, after we've included the asterisk as the placeholder, then at the end here, we are going to include just a read only. Then close the span tag. Then let's go ahead and include for our professional allowance. I'm going to come here to copy here too and copy the code here, copy it here. Then we're going to paste it down. So here should be professional allowance. So I'll call it professional allowance. We're still going to create the type should be text, then the ID should be PA, which is professional allowance, placeholder is 18-bit only. Then we're still going to create for transport allowance. Let's create for transport allowance. Transport allowance. The ID should be TA, which is transport allowance. Then let's create for hazard allowance. Here should be hazard allowance. Hazard allowance. There should be. We are going to use AZA as the hazard allowance. Then after the hazard allowance, let's create our tax too for tax. Then here should be tax. And the tax should be, there should be a span then input, the type should be text, the ID should be tags. Then the placeholder for tags should be asterisk and read only. Then let's come and create for our net pay. Let's create for our net pay. Net pay. So inside the net pay, there should be a span to input the text, the type should be text. Then the ID should change to net pay, which is NP, net pay. Then the same placeholder, then read only. Then let's take our gross. Just copy and paste. So our gross pay should carry the span to then input should be text, ID should be GP, gross pay, which is GP, gross pay. The same thing, placeholder, then read only. So inside a paragraph. So let's go ahead and save it. Then let's refresh our web page and see. Wow, as you can see, we've created something now. So we are going to style it now with CSS. So I'm going to go down here now. I'm going to go straight to my CSS file. Then we start styling. So we are in our CSS file now. So we are going to start to target our container, then from our container down to H1. So we are going to go back to our HTML file, and the first ID here we have here is payroll container. We copy it. So because it's an ID, we are going to use hash key, then we paste it, then add your curly braces, enter. So now we are going to target the padding. Padding should be the padding should be 10 pixel. Then border should be 2 pixel solid. Let's use black, solid black. Then border radius should be 10 pixel. Then we are going to take a background color. Our background color should be pink. Then let's take the width. The width we are going to use is 50%. Let's use 50% as our width. Then let's add a margin left to it. The margin left should be 30 pixel. Let's save this code and go back to our browser and refresh and see. Wow, we've created something. So let's go back to our HTML file and see the next thing to target. So in our HTML file here, after the payroll, the ID payroll, we have something called H1. That is the name of the company, which is JAVASCRIPT Salary Payroll. So we are going to go ahead and target H1. Let's just add color to H1, then add hover to it. I can be able to hover and hover. So we are going to pick H1, the tag H1, then the curly braces. Then inside our curly braces, let's just write our color. Our color should be, let's take blue to be our color. Then let's just add the font family to it. Our font family should be, let's just use default. Let's say default as our font family. Then let's come down here and make our H1 over. To make our H1 over, we are going to use a colon here, then type over the front, then add your curly braces. Then inside our curly braces, you are going to type color. We are going to pick a color that we are going to use in our oven. Let's use something like yellow green. If there's anything like yellow green, yes. So we are going to save. Then we'll go ahead and target our paragraph. Then add your curly brackets and enter. So before we go ahead and target our paragraph, let's just save and refresh our page and see. As you can see, we've gotten a nice color here. So when we over on it, it will change just like that. As you can see, the color was blue, then over it will change color again. When you come in and out, it will change. So let's go back to our CSS file. Let's target our paragraph now. So our paragraph, let's pick a font size for our paragraph now. So let's use 20 font size as 20. Let's take 20 pixel as our font size for the paragraph. Let's use font weight. Our font weight should be bold. That's all for our paragraph. So let's just save and come to our web page here and refresh and see. As you can see, everything here is bold now. So let's go back to our CSS file. So we are going to target our span tag now. Right in our HTML file, we have some span tag inside our paragraph. These are the span tags. So we are going to go ahead in our CSS file and target our span tag. So you type here span, then add your curly bracket. Then inside our curly bracket now, let's float our span tag. So we're going to float it right. Then after we've done that, let's add the margin to it. Then the margin right, let's take margin right to be like 55 pixel. So let's come here and save and go back to our browser and refresh our browser. As you can see, we've gotten a nice shape now. So let's go back again to our file, just enter a bit. So after that, there's still an input in this HTML file. This input, let's go ahead and target our input. To do so, I'll type the word input here, input, then I'll go ahead and target our input. So I'll add my curly bracket here, I'll click enter. So I'm going to add a font size of my input. The font size should be, let me just pick 14 pixel as my font size. Then I'll use a font weight. The font weight should be bold as the font weight of the input. Let's just save and let's just go ahead and refresh and see. You can see full name, enter full name, everything here is bold. So after we've targeted our input now, then we are still going to create a button and target the button. So I'll go back to my HTML file now. Then I'm going to create a button below. So at the end of this div now, I'm going to come here. Then I'm going to create a button. Sorry, let me just make it automatic. Button tag. Oh, we don't want to enter. Sorry, let's just go ahead and include the button. Say button button. Then close the button. Then close here. the button tag, then come here slash, then close our button tag. So let's include something inside our button now. So now we are going to print. I want our button to print. I want this page now. So when we come here, when we click the print button, it's going to print for us. So we are going to include a button then that will click to print this payroll system. So at the opening tag of the button, right on click here, on click the inside, put PRT, then function, the print function here. Then you can now save it. So then you can come to our file here and refresh and see. As you can see, there's a print button here now. So let me go ahead and click it. So you can see I'm clicking it, it's not working. But when we include our JavaScript code, it will function. So let's go ahead and target our button in CSS now. So let's just add some few styles to our button, like font size and blah blah blah. That's a button. So we're going to include now include our button. We're going to target our button now. So inside our button, let's take our font size. The font size should be 20 pixels inside our button. Then font weight, our font weight should be bold. Want it to be bold. Then our background color, the background color should be blue inside the button. Then our color in the button should be white. Then after the color, then border. The border should be 1 pixel. Let's take 1 pixel, 1 pixel solid aqua. Let's use aqua, solid aqua or aquarium. Or then let's add our border radius to it. Our border radius should be 5 pixel. So let's save this code and go to our browser and refresh. So here is our print button now. So let's go back to our HTML file. So we've included all we need to do for our button now. So I don't really know the position of the button, it's not in order. So I would just like to go straight to my HTML file and let me just include this button in center. Let's create a center tag now, and place this button inside the center tag. So come here and highlight everything here. I'll cut it down, place it inside here. Then I'll save so that it will go to the center. Then I'll come here and refresh. It's okay like this. So let's go ahead and include our JavaScript code. So to do that, to include our JavaScript code, we are going to come down here and type script. So let's type script here. Script. Then close. Then close our script. And close our script. So we are just going to take only the JavaScript. We are going to declare only the source to sheet. So what we are going to do now, here we are going to include our source code here. So this is a script tag. Then we're going to include our source code inside this script tag. Script, yes, good. So let's go ahead and declare the first function. The first function we declare here is salary, which is sal. So we are going to come here now and type the word function. Then at the front of the function, I'm going to declare the function called sal. Then we'll add our curly braces, then enter. So now we are going to start with the variables now. Remember that we have a basic salary, hazard, allowance, just like that. So we are going to start with the basic salary now. So we are going to come here and declare a variable called basic, then comma, hazard allowance, comma, professional allowance, comma, then after the professional allowance, the transport allowance, then the hazard allowance. Sorry, this one is the housing allowance. This is the housing allowance. Then here is the hazard allowance. Then let's go ahead and add our tax. Then the net pay. So after we've declared our variables, we are going to add our basic now. Basic is now equals to document dot get element by an ID. Get element document dot get element by an ID. So the ID should be basic salary, and the ID we use is BS. Let's go back to the basic salary, and the ID here, as you can see here, is BS. So we're going to include BS here, then we're going to add dot value in front. So let's go ahead and start our calculation, like the percentage we are going to use in this calculation. So we are going to start with the housing allowance. The housing allowance is equals to basic, then times 30 divided by 100, because it's a percentage. So we are still going to do that for all of them. So I'm going to come here and copy them, paste it, and paste it. Then let me just paste once more again. So this one is for basic, this one for hazard and housing allowance. Let's go to professional allowance. Then professional allowance, we should do 10%. Then after professional allowance, then let's take the transport allowance. The transport allowance should be 20%. 20%. Then after the transport allowance, let's take the hazard allowance, AZ allowance. Then the hazard allowance should be, let's use 15% for the hazard allowance. Then after the hazard allowance, let's delete and copy here, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z, deleted something here. After the hazard allowance, let's include our tax. Then we take our tax, and the tax is equals to basic times our tax should be, let's call it like 5%. So we're going to come down here and include some code in our script file too. So to do so now, let's declare our net pay first. Our net pay now. Our net pay now is now equals to pass int in brackets, then we type basic, then close our bracket here, then plus, we are going to pass int again, going to pass int again. We are going to pick, after our basic, we pick the hazard, after our hazard, let's go ahead and pick our professional allowance, So after hazard, after basic is housing allowance, after housing allowance is professional allowance, After our professional allowance, let's pass int again. Then we pick the tags. Let's take transport first. Transport. After we pick transport, then we pick hazard. After we pick hazard allowance. After we pick hazard allowance, then we take our tags. After we take our tags, then we take the net pay. So after the tags, it should be the net pay. We've already declared it as the net pay. So let's just end it as the tags. So I'll go ahead here and end it with a semicolon in front of the tags. A semicolon here. Delete this one. Click enter. So now, what is a parser? We are using parseInt just like that. So what is parseInt? ParseInt function converts its first argument to a string, then passes that string, then returns an integer or a noun, which is not a number. So let's go ahead and see if I can just add something about a comment here. Add a comment, a parseInt, like say a parseInt function. A function converts its first argument to a string, comma, passes that string, comma, then returns an integer or a noun value. We call it a noun value. That is not a number. So let's go ahead here and include something under these are basic and net pay. So we are going to come here and start with document.get element by ID. So document.get element by ID. So the ID we are going to pick here, the ID should be first one should be hazard allowance, the housing allowance, then close. Then we add dot value, then which is equals to housing allowance. So we are going to come here and copy the same one, and we're going to do it for all of them to tags. So we'll come here, we'll copy it, paste it, then paste this one. So document.get element by ID. The second one should be professional allowance, which is PA, then transport allowance, which is TA. Then after transport allowance is hazard allowance. After the hazard allowance is the tax for the tax. After the tax is the gross pay. The gross pay. So as we've done that for gross pay, we are going to come here too and change everything. This one should be professional allowance. That should be transport allowance. Then here should be hazard allowance. Then here should be the tax. Here should be the tax. Then the last but not the least, which is the net pay, because we are doing for net pay. We take for NP, we use here as NP. Note here should be NP. So we are going to take for NP, which is net pay. So we are going to save this, and we're still going to come here and copy all these you're seeing here, copy it here, then come down here and paste it here. So now, we're going to use it for gross pay now. So the same gross pay will pass in basic and pass in hazard, pass in professional allowance, pass in transport allowance, that we are still going to pass in hazard allowance. So we are going to remove the tax. Going to remove the tax here to get our gross pay because tax is not included in our gross pay. So we're going to come here and delete for the tax. So in our gross pay now, our gross pay now should be document.get element by ID, housing allowance dot value equals housing allowance, the same thing to professional allowance, the same thing to transport allowance, hazard allowance, then same thing to our gross pay now. So now here will be the gross pay because we declare gross pay here. So here will be gross pay. So here will be GP now. So let's save this code now and let's go ahead and add a function to our button. I really want this button. When we click on this button, it will take us to a print dialog that will enable us to print what you can see right here. So to do so, to activate this button, you go back to our HTML file where we include our script. Then under it here, we are going to include a function under it here. So what we are going to do now, let me see, there's something, I believe something is missing here. We are going to include everything inside, we are going to include everything inside this salary function. So here, as you can see, we are going to remove this curly bracket here. We're going to cut it, then place it at the end here. At the end here, place the curly bracket here at the end so nothing will malfunction. So let's go ahead and declare our function print. So our print function, we're going to type function here. So we want the print function to be activated, PRT, because in our HTML file, we declare it as PRT. So if I go back to my HTML file, which is the file I'm in now, as you can see here, on click PRT to print. So I'm going to come down here and declare a function called PRT print. So we are going to add the print statement here. So we're going to type window dot print, then open bracket, close bracket, stop, window dot print. So we're going to save it. Then let's come back to this our code here and refresh our page. So if I click this button now, it should be able to print something for me. Wow. As you can see here, this is our salary payroll. As you can see, Windows.print enables us to print a document when we click on this button. So I'll go ahead and click it back again. As you can see, we can be able to print what we are seeing right here in our browser. So let's just go ahead and test our application and see if our application is actually working. So I'm done with the code. If there's anything, we'll come back and take a look at it. So I'll go back to the browser. I'll refresh my browser again. So now enter employee's name. I'll pick a name as John, or let me just use Bill Gates as my employee. Then you say enter basic salary. Let's say the basic salary is I'm going to pay Bill Gates is $1 million. That 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we'll come ahead here and click here. Wow. As you can see, automatically the housing allowance of Brigade is 300 US dollar, 300,000 US dollars. Then the professional allowance is 100,000 US dollars. Then the transport allowance should be 200,000 US dollars, or the hazard allowance is 150,000 US dollars of Brigade. Then the tax is 50,000 US dollars. Then let's see the net pay. The net pay of this guy, which is our great software producer. Let's say the net pay is 1,180. Let's see, the net pay is 123, then 123, 1,800,000 US dollars. Then let's see the gross pay. The gross pay. The gross pay is, let's calculate and see, 123, then 123, which is 1,750,000 US dollars. So automatically it will just calculate everything from the starting to the end. You can come back and refresh the page and see. Refresh the page, everything will be empty. So let's see between the net pay. So the GP now, the gross pay is between the basic, then here's the basic, the hazard allowance, the transport, the professional allowance, the hazard allowance, the professional allowance, the tax, no, the transport allowance and hazard. Then let's see our net pay. Our net pay contains, let's see. Let's see. Wow. So all we are going to do here, the gross contains everything. So I'm going to remove the tax here. I'm going to remove the tax here. I'm going to remove the tax here. Then include the tax here. Let's go ahead and include the tax here. So we say plus, the same plus, as int, then we are going to add a tax, the tax, close, then add semicolon. Let's save and see what will happen. So our gross should contain everything. Let's refresh again. Let's see if the printing button is working. Let's refresh and see. Let's go back and save our code. There's something. So see something. So code here that we need to correct and see. Wow. This thing shouldn't be here. This shouldn't be here. Is altering our program. Save. Make sure that everything is in order. If not, the program will malfunction. So I'll go ahead and refresh now. Then I'll click my print button. Wow. As you can see, we can print our payroll. So let's go ahead and recalculate now. Let me say now I'm going to pick somebody like Elon Musk. Then let's take his basic salary. Let's say his base salary is 1 million US dollars. Then to get his housing allowance, professional allowance, we click here, it will automatically generate everything. So the gross pay should carry the largest amount. It should contain everything. Then the net pay should be this one. Then the tax should be this. Then the hazard allowance, then transport allowance, professional allowance, housing allowance. Then this is the basic salary of Elon Musk. It's not the real salary of Bill Gates or Elon Musk. It's just like for education purpose, just want to use something to represent it. So we we have come to the end of our today's lesson on how to create a salary payroll system. As you can see here, this is a small salary payroll system. So please, if you enjoyed this video, you can go down and click the subscribe button, share my video, and you can as well subscribe and invite people to subscribe more. Thank you for watching once more again. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.